Welcome. My name is Lynn Azarki, Director of the Kidsbridge Youth Center in Ewing, New Jersey, and author of The Empathy Advantage, coaching your children to be kind, respectful, and successful. So excited to be here with you for this episode of Empathy in Action with my dear friend, Nicole Dickens-Simon, principal of the Greenwood Elementary School in the Hamilton School District. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for making the time to be here with us today. So we've been friends for quite a while, and Kidsbridge comes to your school. Greenwood Elementary School is so special to Kidsbridge because you're so serious and so dedicated to social emotional skills and empathy. So tell the viewers a couple things about yourself, who you are, what you do, and what you treasure.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a lover of students. I want to make sure that the children that are within my care have everything they need, that they feel respected, they feel valued, they feel loved. So that all goes under my title as principal. But I do whatever it takes to make sure that my students, my staff, my families have the programs, have the resources, have the support, have the advocacy that they require, that they request, and that I feel is needed to move them forward, to move our school forward, and to move our community forward in a positive way.
And once you walk into the halls, you can feel it immediately. I mean, you and your staff you prize every student. Every student is really valued, and you feel that. You've won many awards, national and the state level, in character education and social emotional skills. So for me, and you recognize this as well, empathy for me is the most important. It's sort of the starting point for social emotional skills. And I do recall maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, you asked me to come and speak about empathy you were at a high school at that time. So what was it about empathy that got your attention?
Well, we really have to build a stable, strong, nurturing, caring community in order for our learners to aspire to academic excellence, to achieve academic excellence. And we can't get to the academics until we, foster their emotions, give them coping skills, create that village, that community where they feel comfortable enough to talk, safe enough to make a mistake, comfortable enough to come to a teacher and say, I'm feeling this way, and by the way, I don't understand that math problem. So empathy is the foundation of any educational institution, any academic institution, because you have to foster the basic needs of any child, any adult, family member, before you can get to, okay, what's my goal, what's my purpose? And of course, it's academic achievement, graduation, and then, real world experience.
So a lot of people don't know, and I know you know this because we're in the trenches doing this, empathy can be taught. Empathy can be nurtured. And so Kidsbridge has not only taught it, but we've measured it, statistically significant improvements in empathy and empowerment. And so that's something that, we want viewers to know.
100%. It can be taught. And it doesn't have to be implicitly taught like page 1,
Exactly.
This is what it is.
Right.
But you surround the children, you surround the students with people who have the same values, the same vision, the same goal. And so they see it everywhere. They feel it everywhere. There's not any corner of the building that they can go to or conversation that they can have with an adult and hopefully a peer that those values are not coming through, which is why I'm so happy that you've been working with me over the past, decade, because you have to create that village in order to create that mindset and community, and the children just grow within it. So it's not like, okay, on Friday there's a test and, number one, what is, no, it's just, this is the way we are. This is the way we behave. This is, the way it is. And then when you see something that's alternate, you question, why did they say that? Well, let me just step in and see if I can help. It becomes the culture, it's the climate.
Yeah. And again, you feel that when you walk into the school, the billboards reflect it, warm and welcoming, and then a plethora of caring classrooms. So that's really Wonderful. I want to circle back to something you said about empathy and social emotional skills being a foundation for academics. And this is in the research. I think a lot of people don't know that social emotional skills and empathy are a foundation for better academics, because there's a lot of people out there, they only care about academics for their kids or sports, and don't realize that job one is really that the child has self-empathy, right? Self-compassion for themselves. They don't have to be perfect. They will make mistakes. That's okay. I wish I learned that right at a younger age.
Right.
Can you speak to this core foundation of teaching this self-empathy, self-compassion for kids? And then we'll talk about empathy for others.
Certainly, which is why, we have the 6 core values, because without having integrity, knowing what it is, having role models that exemplify and personify integrity, perseverance, responsibility, respect, empathy, and trustworthiness, you can't get to the point of academic excellence. And it's true not only for the students, it's true for the staff, it's true for the families, because you can't engage in a meaningful dialogue as adults if fundamentally I don't respect you, if I don't have any integrity, and I'm saying something to you, giving you lip service, and then walking out the room and saying, oh, well, actually. So, I mean, it's the entire community, and it has to be a fluid culture and climate and a mindset. It's not really something that you could try to sell to the students or the parents or the staff. It's something that they have to come to embrace. So you have to immerse that community in that philosophy, and hope that they develop I don't know, like an affinity or a love for it, and they work within it.
And empathy for others.
100%.
So let's pivot to, you have to create this culture with your teachers, with your counselors, with your staff, from custodians to the lunch people. What do you do to create more empathy and empathy for others, for adults? We talked about kids. Let's talk about the adults
Certainly.
in your school.
So first, I mean, as a principal, as a vice principal, I was also a custodian, a teacher, a cafeteria worker, a basic skills teacher. I put myself in those roles.
Walking
we are,
in the
we
shoes.
Are working, we are
Right?
working
Walking
together.
in the shoes of others.
We're working together, and I'm with you, I'm for you, I am you, so there's a spill, I mop it up. In the beginning,
Wow.
people would say, "Oh, wait, let's call the jet." Like, no, there's the mop, there's the bucket. Like, this is what we're gonna do.
Right.
So, that's for families to see, that's for teachers to see, that's for students to see. Like, this is our school home. You don't want to, be in an atmosphere that you don't feel comfortable, that you're not going to respect, because if you don't respect the atmosphere, then you're not going to respect each other. You're not going to care for each other. You're not going to have empathy for one another. You're not going to respect each other's vision, opinions, ideas, mistakes. You're not going to embrace those mistakes respectfully. And none of us are perfect. I am quick to say, oh, I apologize. Well, let's try it a different way. Well, what do you think? That's a great idea. Let's see how we can move that forward. We're a team. Everyone has a title, but it's a we, and we're a team. And of course, professional development. I've brought in, we've had ACEs training, trauma-informed training.
People may not
culturally
know what ACEs are. You need to explain that.
So it's the trauma that perhaps a child has experienced, adult has experienced throughout their lifetime. It could range from, physical abuse, something very tangible, to divorce, which perhaps, doesn't affect the child, directly, it's like the parents, but it does affect the child emotionally and psychologically. So you kind of look at all of the negative things that perhaps a person has encountered throughout their lifetime and realize that it has impacted them. And we have to embrace that and work through that in order for, the school or the organization or the community to flourish.
Yeah, it's wonderful we can measure that today. So for our viewers, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, children unfortunately get scores, but it helps social workers and our ability to better nurture these kids who are hurting because they bring all that hurt and pain and trauma to school. The last group, let's talk about your parents, because I know you really have an extraordinary relationship with the parents of Greenwood. Let's talk about that for a minute.
I mean, I love my parents, and I mean, I value them, and we would never be successful without them. I thank them every day for allowing, their children to come to us through COVID, through, the things that are going on in the world negatively that we see that are really scary to us, and they continue to partner with us. One fabulous thing about Greenwood Elementary School is that we're a neighborhood school and we don't have any school buses. And that's phenomenal.
Everyone walks.
Everyone walks or drives. Therefore, every morning I'm guaranteed to see, if not a parent, a caretaker, but a responsible adult.
Nice.
And every afternoon I'm guaranteed to see and have a nice conversation with and catch up with and give some information to, a caretaker, a parent, or another family member. They make face-to-face contact with me every day. I'm out on the playground. The teachers are out there. We have our specials teachers, our related arts teachers out there. So there's 100% school, community, school, parent contact daily. And this is an anomaly. I mean, it really is an anomaly because most schools in New Jersey are, enormous populations. Everybody scatters to 20 buses and there's all this confusion and mayhem. I mean, there's a little confusion and mayhem at dismissal. But it's fun. I mean, we know the parents, we know the caretakers. Within the first month of school, exactly. Okay, Sheila, there's your cousin. We know. Okay, there's the brother over there. Oh, he brought the dog today.
Wow.
It's a community.
And relationships.
Yes,
relationships with parents,
wonderful.
which is so hard to foster when they just dropped off on the bus.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you build that trust. You begin to know them, intimately. So when I'm programming and, I'm planning for the building, I pretty much understand, what they value, what they would be interested in, what would benefit the family in terms of them supporting their children. It's very valuable.
So let's back up and explore COVID. COVID is still here. COVID, and God bless you and your staff to run a school through COVID times, how much more stressing, challenging, and trying it can be. But what do you see as empathy's intersection with COVID? How did empathy inform you during this very difficult and challenging time for kids, their parents, and your staff?
Well, we were lucky because we were already on the journey towards social emotional learning. It was already our vision. We had gained a lot of momentum in that area, done a lot of workshops, professional development, conversations about empathy, about social emotional learning, and then, March 13th, 2020 happened. There were many conversations leading up to March 13th based on, what was being broadcast on the news, within my staff, like, well, perhaps, this will be the last time we'll be together, here's how we should handle it. Have conversations with your students. And there probably was like 5 days, that week of March 17th, 5 days of just unsure what we're going to do. And my staff hit the ground running. I mean, the empathy that, we had talked about prior, and just their care for the kids and, them wanting their children, their students to be successful moving forward. They developed all kinds of lesson plans that were engaging, that were interactive. Phone calls were made to children who weren't logged on, who were logged on, and there was no one in the camera.
Right.
Home visits were done.
That's extraordinary. Home visits, wow.
Yes. So, I mean, we made it through COVID in a very, very positive way. Of course, that face-to-face human connection, the hug that you want to give to, the elementary school student, was not there. However, our teachers made that experience the best that they could have possibly done for our children. They made sure they had the resources they needed to learn.
Wow.
What they saw that they lacked, what the parents asked for, we made sure that the students had. put on a mask and, you drop it off. You figure out different ways. So besides online,
Pivoting.
yeah, you have those like drop off deliveries. Oh, it's in your mailbox. Oh, okay, it's on your front stoop. Go outside now. We made sure they had food.
Food. Schools were really taking serious. Some kids have 2 meals at school, and you need to, replenish them.
That.
That's a very important job for schools to do.
Yeah,
for children to be hungry during COVID
yes.
was a big problem in Trenton, Mercer County, right?
Yeah, the world.
Yeah.
We tried to collaborate still with community organizations to make sure that the parents and the families had other resources that they needed, be it clothing or heat, housing, just maintaining, the bare necessities throughout this pandemic when we were working, but most of the country was not.
Yeah. I think Greenwood, as you are director principal, is extraordinary with the number of community, not only Kingsbridge, but the number of organizations you have relationships with. 20, 30, I mean, it's a lot.
Yes, but I mean, to me, that forms the community and the village and the foundation for us to get to academic excellence. I want to bring the community into the building so they see how great our students are. Greenwood has been called the hidden gem of Hamilton, which is great. I mean, we are a gem, but I don't want us to be hidden because our teachers are doing phenomenal things and our students are achieving wonderful accolades. And so I want to broadcast that to the community, to the world, and I want the community to be proud. When they drive past Greenwood Elementary School, I want them to say, oh yes, there's a stakeholders meeting, I'm gonna go. I'm going to log on. That's another thing from COVID.
Right.
Zoom, we're all over it now.
Right.
So,
and as you know, you invited me to be a stakeholder.
100%.
Where we get emails regularly. Mm-hmm. We know what's going on in the school, and we get to interactively. It was Zoom, of course, during COVID. Reflect and provide maybe some suggestions or guidance, advice. So being a stakeholder, I've never been so close to a school other than my role as director of Kingsbridge, but you take it very seriously, and it's a wonderful, alliance between you, staff, parents, and then, non-for-profit professionals in the community. So I applaud you for that.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I mean, I do value my stakeholders. I value what they bring to the table. And, I'm an open book. I try to be highly communicative about what transpires at Greenwood Elementary School, the planning. I try to align all of the planning, the programming, the budgeting. But I want to hear from the community because I am here to serve you. I'm here to serve the parents and their children. So I want to make sure that what they want for their child is what I'm offering to their child.
Yeah.
What I'm presenting and trying to put forward as a vision and mission of Greenwood is what the Hamilton community wants as the mission and vision of Greenwood, and we're moving together, unified.
So I hearken back to March because of COVID, where the doors slammed in the Kingsbridge phase, and March, April, May are our busiest time, and what could we do? We go into the schools and we serve kids, and then there are field trips to the center, and so I thought, okay, where are the kids? The kids are home. So Kingsbridge rallied and created 70 free online activities that parents could do with their kids because we had to go where the kids were, and we can only do that, electronically. So those activities remain on the Kingsbridge website.
Yes, which we promoted that greatly, and we shared, and teachers utilized as well.
Thank you.
Because the learning doesn't stop. Even though you're on the screen, it becomes more challenging for the parents.
Never.
The parents see their children in a different light. The parents see the staff in a different light. And we just want to continue to, move our vision forward.
Right, always more to do. So as you know, I wrote this book to coach parents and teachers, the scaffolding of how important empathy is to success, to academics, to really people skills, everything in life. So the bottom foundation is empathy, self-empathy. So many people are broken, need to nurture themselves. Even as adults, we still really need to work on self-compassion. And then on top of that, empathy for others. The last part of the triad is empathy in action, empathic action for others. So I would like you to speak about how you concretely, yes, you've created this empathetic community, but the last leg of the three-legged stool is action. What do you do for yourself, for your staff, for your students to then, someone is being bullied, someone is being excluded, somebody is being called a name, or the horrible universe of cyberbullying. How do you propel and role model action in your school or in your daily life?
So at school, we use restorative practices, and so that's how we really bring empathy to action with circles. So it's, again, I am the building leader, but it's a team effort and it's a we. So when a problem or a situation is presented, I gather, the participants, those who are involved in whatever situation it may be. We have a circle and we have a conversation. And the students know, just based on the climate of the building, that within the circle, we respect each other's voice. One person speaks at a time. We listen intently. And, we move around and everyone has a voice. And we try to come to a conclusion within that circle. But we try to bring value to the students to let them know that they're going to be heard, that they must take accountability for their actions. Even though I work with young learners right now, I do this with kindergarten students. And they understand, that there's a consequence to their actions, that they must take accountability. And this is a community, this is a village. It's not like, something negative transpires and then I'm going to send Jimmy away and you never see him again. I'm sending Jimmy right back to the classroom next to, Sarah, who we had an issue with. So we have to resolve this. How are we going to make our community better? And they have to learn to reflect. They have to learn to plan. They have to learn to develop. I can't tell them to do it. I mean, I could. It's not going to have an impact. They'll do it for a second. They have to take that accountability and that initiative. And so that's why I try to instill in them. They have to be reflective. They have to, see things from another person's perspective. And we have to take the time as adults to talk them through that. And, also to teach coping skills, to teach sportsmanship, just the life lessons of being a good person, that they have to realize for themselves. That certainly, you teach through, lessons and, read alouds, but they have to come to acknowledge it for themselves and embrace it themselves and be able to express it for themselves.
Right. Active listening, I heard, so that's important. The other thing that you visited that I'd like to spend a couple minutes on, starting earlier. So and I know that children notice differences when they're 3 and 4 years old. So the lens of empathy for appreciating differences, religion, race, all the differences that kids perceive. Just yesterday, I learned from a friend, a 5-year-old said to another kid, I can't play with you, because your skin is not the right color. So I'd like viewers to know that I think people are afraid to have these conversations, but the earlier we have them, the better it is. Can you speak to teaching empathy and social emotional skills earlier and how important it is?
Certainly. So especially with the young learners, I've been, at the high school level, college level, but with the young learners, they're regurgitating what they've heard. They're regurgitating what they've seen, and perhaps it's a belief, within their home. So I take the perspective or the route of, at Greenwood, this is what we do. At Greenwood, here's how we talk. At Greenwood, here's how we handle it. At Greenwood, here's how we resolve conflict. Because I don't want to undermine what a mother is saying, because I'm a school mom, but I'm not their mom. But they should have, like an arsenal of different ways to handle situations. Especially with a 5-year-old, a kindergarten student, will, curse at somebody or call them, a disparaging comment. That 5-year-old is not really looking at that other child saying, this is what you are. The 5-year-old is saying, oh, I heard this. My cousin said it, and so I'm going to say it, and let's see what the reaction is. And as long as within the school or the organization, the reaction is going to be, okay, we're going to put the math lesson down for a moment, and I'm going to address this, and not yelling and, berating the child. a conversation. This is how we're going to move forward, here in this space.
Right.
What are your thoughts? Why did you say that? And giving them that value. You're 5, but you can reflect. You can take accountability. You can share exactly, why you feel you said it. It might be something, silly. Oh, well, Bugs Bunny said.
Right.
But I mean, we value it, and then we continue to have the conversation, and it doesn't end there. Okay, we pick the math book back up, but during morning meeting, during our win time, during recess, during our activities, our rallies, our assemblies, our workshops, it is continuous. And you're getting the message from everybody. It's
Right,
not just,
right.
well, Mrs. Jones said.
Right.
It's everyone saying it. The secretary is saying it. The nurse is going to say it. Our custodian is fantastic. He'll say it. I
Right.
mean, so.
And for parents and teachers listening, it's consistent. I mean, it's
has
just
to
this
be.
consistent philosophy and culture that empathy is flying all over the place. So that's so wonderful. So let's look to the future for a minute. In the world of empathic action, being an upstander, which for those who don't know, stand up and speak out, what are a few of your goals or your hopes for the future?
For Greenwood Elementary School?
Yeah.
Well, I would love to see my 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders continue to become leaders and really guide the school. So
Leadership earlier. Let's start in elementary school.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Kidsbridge also works on personal strengths that kids feel everyone has a personal strength, to identify them and then to, yes, be leaders.
Yep.
Wonderful.
So I want to continue to empower them.
That's great. So we've spent a great time together. I want to thank you for coming in. I invited you because you were such a fabulous principal and such a wonderful role model. You're an inspiration to me, and to congratulate you because you're one of Kidsbridge's humanitarians for the 15th annual humanitarian celebration. I hope people come out and see you. But thank you for coming in and for what you do for every student, for every parent, for your staff. You are an exemplary person and a personal inspiration to me. So thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. This was an honor.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks for coming in. Lynn Azarki here, Empathy in Action. Thanks for visiting us today. Author of The Empathy Advantage, Coaching Your Children to Be Kind, Respectful, and Successful. Thanks for visiting us today. Be well. Bye-bye.